There we go. And the invocation, we'll start our service with a little invocation. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for bringing us all together. As we come together, we open our hearts in gratitude for the space, for the opportunity for friendship, and our connection to Spirit. And with this, we say thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. So now I will say our statement of intent. All right. We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where we can worship the God of our own understanding, a place to experience joy and be uplifted, a place where we can gain strength and inspiration to share with all we meet throughout the week. We invite you to join us in this celebration of life, to nourish your spirit and to enjoy the company of kindred souls. All right, and with that, let's sing our opening hymn, Let There Be Peace. If you haven't got a white card in front of you, it's on page 3 of Wings of Song. Now, don't sit down yet. We're going to have another song here. We're going to sing number 89, which is what, In the Garden? Is that it? Yep. And just to remind you that today Carol Carey has to work, so she is not our player today, but we have our lovely Jean Quacco filling in for her. Thank you, Jean. All right. So, Carolyn, I need your little thing there. All right, perfect. Oops. All right. Oh, got to get that good voice out there. All right. Now, this week, we are having a lovely speaker today. This week, our speaker is Carolyn Sheets, currently our president of the Board of Trustees and a member since the 1980s. Her spiritual awakening in the early 70s launched her path of seeking, teaching, healing arts, and massage therapy. Love, kindness is her subject today, and our liminal in-between times as we transition to new earth. There you go. Thank you. All this technology we've got to work through. All right, so that is Carolyn will be our speaker, but before we get to our speakers, let's have a little bit of a few announcements. Remember, we do have a suggestion box, and if you need to make any suggestions, comments, or ideas that we need to be following through with, you can put it in the box or talk to one of us. There are all kinds of different ways you can get a hold of us. Also, the Unity Book Group is on hiatus, and we'll be back in March, and we'll keep you updated on that. And Carolyn, I know, has a bunch of things she wants to announce.
Thanks, everybody. This is our very first time to do it this way. We're experimenting with our order of service. And so the first thing I want to say is I want to thank Marky, who was out here yesterday to just get the frozen stuff out of the fridge for today. And he saw that there was thick ice on our whole sidewalk. And he went home, got his chipper, came back, started chipping away. And it just took forever, and he did some more this morning. So when you notice the sidewalk is clear and one entry is blocked off, you'll see you can thank Mark in your heart and for your loyal partnership in so many things, Marky. We really appreciate you. And Denise has a few things to say about our gathering tomorrow morning.
Okay, just a couple things. The Tea and Conversation Group, which we started this month on the first and third Mondays at 11 o'clock, will be taking place tomorrow, hopefully. I'm going to collect information if I don't have yours. We are under a winter weather advisory, but we never know how that goes. So I will send out an email in the morning as things progress, but they say like 3 to 5 inches, but hopefully not. The current subject, we are watching Gaia, and the program is channeling. And we selected that due to, we have channeling here at church the second Sunday of every month. Very fortunate to have that occur. So this is sort of helping us understand and getting a background of information, sort of demystifying what it is and how it works. And it's a really great program. We watched the first 2 on the first Monday, and we plan on doing program 3 and 4 tomorrow. Each one's just under a half an hour. So we discuss it after each program, and it's a lot of fun. So come join us. And I will have a few more announcements, but not till lunch.
What time? What time?
11 a.m.
Yeah, let's say it, yeah.
Thanks, Denise. And now we have some important work that I'm going to keep as simple as possible. But what is happening for our church for the last few years, a number of years now, folks, our board is being very proactive with wanting to share our process as we are in our renewal, which really didn't begin, and it wasn't time to begin before November. And so we're fresh at the game. But we're looking at everything, really, as far as how to be more inclusive and more on our mission of being a metaphysical spiritual community. And so what's been happening for a few years is we've been running in the red. We take in less than we spend every month. And we've been fortunate to have a savings account And we have 2 sets of securities, of stocks, that long ago were purchased for our own good. And so we have decided to sell one smaller set of them, and that has entailed a whole new set of additions to our bylaws, which, according to our bylaws, we announce to you when we do. This is today. And then in 1 month, you can all vote on it. And in the meantime, all of our members will receive an email stating exactly what the bylaws are. So really, all they say is this. I'm going to just read it through quick, because what it's saying is that the president has the opportunity to be authorized by the board to conduct the transaction in the official way. Will be the one who signs. But we have nothing in our bylaws that say that. So when we found out we wanted to sell them, we had found out we had to have it in our bylaws. So in the case of financial assets owned by the Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church, the Board of Trustees is to authorize the duly elected board president or acting president to sell, assign, and/or transfer the property and/or securities as directed by the Board of Trustees. So that will make it legal for us to have somebody to make the signature and sign it. And then the second one simply defines what the acting president is. Because if the president wasn't available to do the work, they went on a surprise vacation because something was happening in their family, their niece decided to elope to Spain, whatever, everything would be stalled. So we needed a clause for an acting president. I'll read this. If the board president is unavailable to take timely action, the board has authorized the president to carry out, for reasons of health, distance, or other difficulty, the board may elect an acting president to serve for up to only 60 days until the president can return to the full duties of their office, or an election by the members can be held to fill the position of board president in full standing. A lot of legalese, but pretty straightforward purpose. So you don't have to do anything now about it. Just know that we've launched the process today. Okay, with that, I say on with the show.
We do the call and response thing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Oh, yes, let's stand up for this part, please. This is a little call and response with as much vigor and love as you can muster. These are the 3 short affirmations we received from Spirit in November. So, joyful teamwork is our way. Joyful teamwork is our way. Listening kindly is our path. Listening kindly is our path. We are in renewal together. We are in renewal together. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Well done, Sue. Yeah. It's new. All right, so we tend to flutter back and forth between our regular principles and our unity principles when we remember to say the principles. So today, let us do very shortly and sweetly the 5 basic unity principles. There should be a white slip of paper in the pew, either in the pocket in front of you or on the end. Otherwise, they're really simple. So number 1, God is the source of and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. There is power in affirmative prayer, which we believe increases our awareness of God. Knowledge of these principles, spiritual principles, is not enough. We must live them. All right, so with that, can I have somebody bring forth the healing bowl, please? While we ask, are there any people who need healing prayers?
Yeah, my sister, who's 87, was diagnosed with fulminating breast cancer this last weekend. They'll have to decide what they're going to do. In the meantime, she lives with her daughter, and her daughter was
So what are their names?
Elaine is my sister and Sarah is her daughter.
Okay, so Elaine, Jean's sister, and Sarah, your niece. All right, they both need our prayers for the highest good. Yeah, so to get through these cancer scares. So hopefully they can move on. Denise?
Just prayers for the highest good for the Carter family. President Carter has decided to go into hospice as of care, and he's 98, and I'm not a political person, but I think he's a great human being.
Yes, Jimmy Carter and the family, prayers for the Carter family, exactly. What an amazing man. Any other prayers?
First for my daughter Amber, she's in a new job, and she is struggling. It sounds like it's a real toxic environment, and it's one of these situations where she's expected to learn a whole lot without a lot of training, so.
And what's her name again?
Amber.
Amber, prayers for Jan's daughter Amber in her new job. Hopefully the toxicity goes away.
All the world suffering
Oh yes, all the world's suffering. We always pray for that.
and our earth.
And our earth. If you have not already done so, when you come and join our celebration, you can always put a name in the bowl where we pray over the bowl throughout the whole service. Otherwise, if you haven't done so physically, you can always do so mentally. So at this point, let's take a moment of silence and to deep in, take a little breather and pray for all of the people that need all of our help. All right, take a deep breath in. And now we're going to sing In the Silence, which will lead us into our healing meditation, which Carolyn will be doing also. And then she will give us her wonderful wisdom. Number 74 in Wings of Song.
And now, again, a breath, an inhale and a cleansing out. And this is going to be what's called a metta meditation, loving kindness. So we're going to really be focusing on our hearts. And we all come to this in different ways, with different amounts of practice. I've needed to really practice to find the energy in my heart. But drop into the energy of your heart in whatever way. And often it's helpful to put our hand or both hands on our heart. And we're going to bring in the sense of loving kindness for ourselves. Loving kindness, widening our heart, really seeing ourselves with love and kindness, with a warm heart, compassion and kindness and love. Breathing in that. Softening our body as we realize where we're holding on somewhere. Over and over, loving kindness for ourselves. We've mostly, all of us, been touched by the capacity to indeed love ourselves, to have compassion for all the ways we want to do better, and all the ways we see ourselves in our humanity. Being kind every day, having good intentions and doing our best. And now as you come, next we come to bringing in a loved one, a dearly loved one, and hold them in loving kindness. Widening our heart, opening it to the wonderful warmth, love, kindness we hold for them. Sometimes it's said sending loving kindness, and another way that as part of my tradition is that we hold loving kindness for another and simply expand to them, for them, so there's more choice involved in their receiving. Whatever your way is, loving kindness for this dear loved one. Breathing into it. And next we're going to bring in some source that is also much loved by us, some aspect of nature. Maybe it's a pet, maybe it's the lake, maybe it's how the earth looks from space, a great blue planet. Loving kindness, wishing well. Not to change, simply to love the process of who they are, what they are. And finally, we bring forward a difficult relationship. It could be a very global idea of the ones who choose war, or someone close to us that it's not easy with, that calls us to rise to our better nature, calls us to rise to loving kindness for them as well, knowing that none of us know each other's stories. Things have happened in each person's path that have left their marks. on our hearts. I hold loving kindness for them just as they are. Loving, blessing, grateful, loving kindness. Breathing into that, knowing that we ourselves may be someone else's difficult one. It's all one. Great love for all the connectedness of all of us. And we're going to begin now. As you come back gently, you can keep your eyes closed and your hearts open. For our sacred text today, I'm going to read the new version, to me and to many of us, of the Lord's Prayer, written by the amazingly wonderful Parker Balmer, who's based in Madison, that was brought to us by our speaker a couple weeks ago, Gary Anderson. So this is a new version of the Lord's Prayer. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, holy and blessed is your true name. We pray for your reign of peace to come. We pray that your good will be done. Let heaven and earth become one. Give us this day the bread we need. Give it to those who have none. Let forgiveness flow like a river between us, from each one to each one. Lead us to holy innocence beyond the evil of our days. Come swiftly, Mother. Father, swiftly come. For yours is the power and the love and the mercy. For your name is all one. And so we begin. I'm going to ask you all to imagine, it won't be hard, that life now more than ever is like slides passing through. To me, it feels exactly like when I have my eyes examined and they put different slides in and things look different with each little visual slide. And I'm going to have two words. Actually, the original name that I playfully, because I knew I couldn't really do it, I didn't really want to do it, but of this talk is liminal numinosity, because they're two words I just love. And this is what they look like. I'm going to put them on the tables downstairs. How many of you have heard of these words? Either one of these? Sue has, okay. Okay, liminal, they're very simple meanings. They're such beautiful words. Liminal means a threshold moment. It doesn't have to be a grand threshold. It seems that we use it that way, and I like it that way, but it's a passing from one stage to the other. And we're in that now. We're passing from a third-dimensional world and life to a fifth-dimensional. It's an enormous difference. And the premise that I want to talk about today is that the two worlds are passing in and out of our lives now. To some degree every day, probably. But certainly in significant moments where we notice. And I'm going to tell you about a a couple of my significant moments that had me pay attention and figure this out as my working theory right now. And so this liminal nature of the times we're in is also this word numinous or numinosity. And numinosity simply means the transcendent or the spiritual or the non-physical, something to do with that. Well, we're all familiar with that. We all live that all the time, every day. Those of us in this room think about it on a regular basis in our every hour or every couple hours. We're touched in our heart in some way that we want to grow more loving, or want to forgive, we want to honor. All these sacred small passages of our instinctual self arise. And we live in a very numinous existence as humanity. Here, as literally, as I understand it, it keeps holding up to be true. No matter how much I've learned so far, we're co-creators. We're co-creators with the divine energy. We are an experiment. We're a beautiful, powerful, lovingly conceived experiment in co-creating a world of free will. It went awry. It went awry a long time ago. And that's what New Earth is the good news about, partly. Because it appears, there's different versions, but it appears that way back in Lemuria, which then is a continent that went down into the ocean and rose back up as Hawaii, there was evil that came in. Nonetheless, humanity has persevered, and we are now receiving so much more love through the cosmos, through a 12,000-year cycle of photon belt, of showering love in, and more resonant, radiant energy of higher frequency than usual. So the whole Earth, just through nature, is being embraced in more love. And the sun is sending out solar flares of love at a rate that, I forget the numbers, but it's at least 100 or 1,000 times more than usual, because they track these things, and they can say there's unbelievably more solar flares coming from the sun, and their love, their radiant energy, very high frequency. So the whole Earth is waking up. And for me, my first story about this liminal, numinous opportunities that exist in our lives, because we're all having them. They're moments of magic. There's no easy way to explain it in common sense or linear thinking. They happen. It's our experience. We all live it. And mine goes back to my very early 20s when my mother, an amazing wise soul, but not at all esoteric, very Methodist, gave me a book. And they had read it in her book group at the Methodist Church. And just in the last 5 years, I got to ask the person, the wife of the minister at that time who chose the book, and she said, oh, I thought it'd be interesting. And I believe it could have been just for me. They chose a book called The Search for the Truth by Ruth Montgomery, who went on to write a whole series of books, and I read every one, talking about the unseen world, talking about mediums and communication between the afterlife and this life. And she handed it to me very innocently, because she really was. She didn't have any idea really what she was handing me, I think. She already had 9 kids. She wasn't reading a lot. She was in the book group, I'm sure, partly to be with the people. But she was reading. She was a reader. She loved to read. But anyway, she gives me the book. I start to read it. And you all heard the very short version of the story, which is all it needs is a short version. In 5th grade, I gave up God. I gave up God because I could not bear a God that was so unjust. I could not bear poverty. And here it was in my tiny little country school. There are a few Native American kids that I'd never been with before until I went to school in 1st grade. And I couldn't bear that they were bullied and they were poor. And I couldn't bear that I heard about kids in India who were starving. I couldn't bear it. How could God do that? So I left, quietly in my own heart. I didn't tell anybody. There's nobody to tell. And I just said, I'm going to be as much like Jesus as I can. That's my path. I didn't mind. I just was clear. And not until I read this book, and as I came to the part where they first mentioned reincarnation, an entire energy flowed through me that I'd never experienced before, and I knew it was true, and I heard the words, "You used to know this, you just forgot." And in a split second, justice ruled. I understood it immediately. My synthesizing is fast, and I got it. And I was thrilled. That was a liminal moment, a threshold moment between realities. And now I'm going to ask us, I forgot to tell you how this is going to be in 2 parts. There's a few stories to talk about this, and there's also, we're going to work with our own hearts. So let's close our eyes again and come back to loving kindness. Loving kindness for ourselves, for the earth, for wherever we're drawn, but very much loving kindness for our own journey in this liminal time between 3rd dimension and 5th dimension. And feel your heart. We all will get used to more and more dropping back into our hearts and appreciating, being grateful, really feeling it in our hearts. It changes our heart. Meditation research tells us how our brain and our heart literally change when we drop in to the deeper resonant energies that we find in meditation, we find in our intentionality, to drop into that boundless capacity, loving kindness for ourselves, for this liminal journey of numinosity that we're on. Breathing into that, holding it as long as you want while I continue on. Another story of luminosity, of liminal experience. This time it's my only, one and only beloved husband, who's long gone. 13 years of divorce, so loving, every day loving each other. And then he passed at age 57, 22, 3 years ago. So I'm 4 going on 5 years old in our Methodist church. We've just moved there that spring, and it's winter. And every winter, that Methodist church had a gigantic lumberjack supper. The men's group put it on, and it was a big deal. People were everywhere. And I'm a little girl, and I got a brother and a sister already, and our parents are there, and it's their first year in this new church. And later, I didn't know it happened at the time, but later I hear from Paul, that's his name, his mother, who verifies every bit of the story, and him, that he told his mom, he's age 7, he sees me with my parents, and he tells his mom he's going to marry me. Now that's a liminal moment, man. He had soul recognition of some level. He was a very sparkly guy. And he was very wise. But he sure didn't know he was doing that. But he never forgot. He held that always. And when his mother was my 5th grade Sunday school teacher, she had to tell him everything I said in Sunday school. And he chose to wait till I was a freshman to introduce himself to me. Because even though his parents went to that church, he didn't. He was an art room motorcycle guy. And that was the first year we would have been in the same group, because of course I was the president of everything in junior high. So the youth group, whatever, he didn't come then because he was too old to be in that. But as soon as the first Sunday I was old enough to be in the one with the high school kids, he's a senior, he's there. We get into trouble the first night. He brings a bunch of girls home because he's got a car, and we drive all over forever. And so that story always startled me. And once I understood more about reincarnation, but the whole story that comes with it, which is we are souls. We come with agreements. We come with plans. He and I have had many lifetimes together. And it's all started to fit together, but it's still magical. It's still amazing. And so, again, let's drop in for a minute, because you too have these. You too may talk about them and share them with people. And feel the magic of life. The magic that actually has understanding attached to it, but it's not third dimensional. We can't see, hear, touch, taste, or smell it. Well, sometimes we smell it, but we smell the other vibrational world. We can have the other vibrational world communicate through all of our senses. However, it's not of the third dimension. Loving kindness, gratitude, deep appreciation for our own lives, our heart swelling, warming, opening to who we are. These amazing human beings who get to be here now, so often called the strongest of the strong, to withstand and participate and contribute to the journey that we are on as a humanity and as Earth, rising. Your own liminal memories, and another one for you, the one that started this whole journey for me, that I started to realize I'm being pushed to talk about this. I recently broke my elbow last November. And of course, these are always meaningful things, right? We have these moments and we're going to find the meaning. And in essence, because this isn't really the nugget of the nugget of the story is next, but I need to meditate more. I need to slow down more. I need to less do and more deep. So, it was my third one. It was my second one in a row of 3. So I'm getting the message, and here I am talking about meditation because I need to do it more too. And I love it. And I'm sure we all have our own story and journey about meditation in our own lives. But the surgeon who worked on my arm was the one I wanted. And I wanted him because he had taken very amazing surgeries for my sister, who was very frail and had a Marfan's-related health condition that makes the bones become like lace. And so she had lots of breaks and lots of metal plates. And she was a brilliant artist and a brilliant intuitive and a spiritual seeker. Always, that was her main purpose. And so she knew Dr. Zamzo was amazing. She could feel it, see it, understand it. And so I wanted him. and he was available. So he's known for three things: deep kindness, deep listening. He's running late by morning because he's hanging out talking to his patients. And he's a fierce advocate for his patients. And the example I was given was that if he sees one of his patients in the hall on a stretcher, rolling stretcher thing, he'll pull somebody over to the side and say, I don't want my patients treated this way. I don't want them having to wait out in the hall. Take care of that, please. Always respectful. So on the last day, visit, checkout time in January, we hardly talked about my arm at all. We talked about his family and his children. And my dad was a doctor. My dad was a beloved, exquisitely careful doctor. He was like Dr. Zamzo. And I instinctively, as we were ending our conversation, reached out my hands to him. Because by that point, we're sitting pretty close. We're in a small examining room anyway, and then we're on our chairs, and we're almost knee to knee, and I reach out my hands, and he takes my hands. I say, thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for how you practice. Thank you for taking such good care of me. And it was tearful in my energy. And the next day or two, I realized I was talking to my dad. I was thanking my dad because I didn't have a close relationship with my dad. He and my mom were Methodists. They did it on purpose. They both wanted a lot of children. He was an orphan by the time he was 12. He lost his mother in a house fire when he was 6. He did not have an easy life, except he went into a good home, his mother's only sister, and he had one family. So his first cousin was like a brother, but still, it was a lot of trauma. And his dad died in a car crash at 12, when he was 12. And you stayed up all night with your patients. And one of the things that I was thanking him for was being such a good man, both of my parents. One of the classic things that would happen in Dad's life all the time is he would have to get up from bed and go to the hospital at 1 or 2 in the morning and take glass out of people's faces who had gone through the windshield. And alcohol was involved almost, if not all the time. And I never, actually on any subject, but I never heard one word of disparagement from my father or mother who didn't drink, who didn't smoke, who came from a family who didn't drink, didn't smoke. Never putting anybody down. No explanation. Now I can see they must have known. There's people's stories. People have their lives. And they haven't been easy. And things happen. But so many times, he spent the night doing that. Then at 8 o'clock, went back to the hospital, make rounds, see people. And you just worked all the time. But we have think about your own father. Think about your own mother. It's really a big story, what we receive. And it isn't all good. I know I was blessed. I know I was graced. However, we can be thankful for what they gave us. Let's go back to our hearts now as we finish this and complete these liminal times and how we, in this time, whether our parents are on the other side or here, how can we hold them in deep loving kindness in this moment? for being our parents. Our journey shaped by them, many strengths received by their weaknesses, many opportunities and moments of awakening because of their journeys. And the other people that have been in our life, that if our parents weren't easy or weren't available, often there are other people that were. What a grace that is. Blessing on all of it, dears. Blessings on our hearts that are carrying so much of the journey as we are available. More and more, our own hearts are helping Earth carry this journey from third to fifth as we leave cruelty and corruption aside and we focus on love. We focus on the divine plan going as it should. And as we're told, the divine plan is going exactly on plan. There's supposed to be a lot of breakdown, and suffering was expected. And in our world, we understand suffering is not random. We suffered to help others and to help ourselves grow. And so there's blessings even, of course, for the ones who suffer. And they too are gaining their own spiritual growth, and we are to have compassion and loving kindness for the suffering, for ourselves, for the earth, to the best of our ability, and as it fits into our own understanding and paradigm of how things work. Because we're not all going to be in a complete agreement. But the version that a metaphysical path shows us is that there is a meaning and things are not random. And we are called to love. Blessed be. Thank you. Come back as you're ready.
All right. Thank you, Carolyn. Always so radiant. I love how you speak. At this point, I'd like to call for somebody to bring forward the basket so we can do our offering today. Happy birthday, Steve. I had to get that in there. Divine love through us blesses and multiplies all that we give, all that we have, all that we share, and all that we receive. Thank you. All right. Do we have time for another song? Sure. All right. Our next song is number 83? 88. Okay.
88. Maybe, Jean, could we do first and last?
Yeah.
Check the verses.
First and last verses. All right. 88. All righty then. Oh dear. All right. All right, so now at this point, don't sit down yet. We got one more thing to do here before you sit down, or we're not going to sit down again, because then we're going to form in our circle. We are going to say our church affirmation, which you will find on the white card, and it begins with, we totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. We know that as our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership to our spiritual community. And what are we? We are grateful. All right, so let's gather in our circle. Yes.
You can join us.
No, she's going to sing now. She can't join us.
But I'm supposed to do benedictions.
Yes.
I'm going to say, Mother, Father, God, Creator, Source, Creator, bless us in this day, bless us in this path, bless